You're listening to The Mountain Spirit, a podcast of Christian Appalachian Project, where we share inspirational stories of faith, service, and compassion. I'm a firm believer that we're all connected by our shared humanity, and that finding that intersection sometimes just means having a conversation. Today we get to hear from Joyce Marks, Director of the Jackson County Food Bank. You can find the Jackson County Food Bank in McKee, Kentucky, tucked away on McGammon Ridge Road between the McKee Senior Citizen Center and the Jackson County Detention Center. During the height of COVID, they served as many as 900 people in 1 month. They partner with the detention center, which provides a pantry with needed volunteers to unload trucks and help stock shelves to serve the community. Having a food bank accessible to the community makes a huge difference in the lives of residents, especially for seniors, parents, and grandparents raising grandchildren. We're excited to have Joyce Marks on during our anniversary season because her husband was among the first 5 employees with Christian Appalachian Project. She will share with us some of her memories around that time. We had a chance to sit down at the pantry for this interview. Hi, Miss Joyce. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and we're so glad to be here at the pantry itself, seeing all of these wonderful food items that will be shared with the community. I wonder if you could tell us about your role here at the pantry and how long you've been involved.
Okay, I have been involved with the pantry since before it began. There was a young social worker in Jackson County who went to Sister Joanne Lammers, who worked at St. Paul Church at the time, and I'm a parishioner at St. Paul Church. He said, we need a food bank in Jackson County. That's been over 30 years ago, there was no food bank here. The church had just a shelf with a few food items on to help with people who were in dire straits. And that probably was even before, I think that was even before food stamps got started. Sister Joanne was quite an innovator. She got a list of all the churches in Jackson County, every denomination, and sent out letters inviting churches to come to a meeting to possibly establish a food bank. And so she cooked up a mean pot of potato soup. There were a good attendance, and there was some interest. So that was the very beginning of how the food bank got started. Of course, that was just the very beginning. And then there were other meetings, and it ended up that the Dutch Reformed Church were the main people who really helped get it started. And the meetings went on for quite a while. And Sister Joanne went to God's Pantry in Lexington to try to find out how it was organized and all that type of thing. And so she wrote up bylaws and guidelines and all that. Grants were written and some fundraisers were held. Then we needed a place. And so there was a member at St. Paul's Church who was the CEO of White House Clinic at that time. And he said, well, I have a closet you can have to start out in. I won't even charge you for it. So Melvin, my husband, and my sons went and set up this closet and made it into a food bank, and that's how we got started. And that's been over 30 years ago. My title is director now. I guess that entails about anything that needs to be done, and I have done it all. So that's kind of what we do here. Currently, we probably serve from 800 to 1,000 members a month. We have to keep count of this and turn this into God's Pantry because most of what you see here on the shelves comes from God's Pantry. And so we have to turn this data into them. And so we might serve 20 families today. I think Monday we served 30 families. You know, there is a need for the food bank. The food bank is open Monday through Friday from 12 till 2.
I noticed you had a lot of produce today. Where do you get this kind of fresh produce to serve families in Jackson?
We got a big load in from God's Pantry yesterday, and the produce came from God's Pantry, and you do not have to be an emergency need of food in order to get the produce. We put, because produce has a short shelf life, and if we have a lot of it, we put it out on the porch. And we have a program in Jackson County on the radio station called Dial and Deal. It's for the community to call in. And so if we have produce for that day, I'll call in on Dial and Deal and say, we have it. Anybody can get it. You do not have to be an emergency need in order to get the produce. So that is where we get the produce.
What's your passion for helping the community in this way?
There is need here, and we came here with the Christian Appalachian Project back in 1965, and that is the reason that we came here, was to be able to help with this organization and in order to make a better life for a lot of people. And so that is what we've done.
For our listeners, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to drive over to Camp AJ, which is not that far from the food bank, and we will be right back.
Hello, friends of CAP. This year, CAP turns 60, and we couldn't be more excited. This marks 60 years of building hope, 60 years of transforming lives, 60 years of sharing Christ's love through service in Appalachia. And we plan to be here for many more years to come. In celebration of our anniversary, we have created a special website where you can view the CAP archives and experience our story throughout the first 60 years of CAP. Thank you for being part of our story. Visit us at wearecap.org. That is wearecap.org.
Okay, here we are. We've arrived at Camp AJ, which is an overnight residential camp operated by CAP to invest in Appalachian youth. It's a beautiful, picturesque location. As mentioned in the intro, Joyce Marks and her husband Melvin came to Jackson County in 1964, just a few months after CAP was incorporated. Melvin, an agricultural graduate from the University of Kentucky, and his wife Joyce ran a logging operation for CAP. So let's start. We're going to jump right in with some questions for Miss Joyce today. So Miss Joyce, can you tell us what brought you and your husband to this part of Kentucky?
Melvin graduated from U of K, and we're originally from Bardstown, Kentucky, and we married about a year before he graduated, and he was looking for a job, and he had read about the Christian Appalachian Project in our church bulletin, and so he contacted Father Body and made a reservation to come and talk to him. Didn't even tell me about it, but that was okay. That was his style. And so we came up on a Sunday afternoon and talked to Father Body. I don't remember exactly what transpired there, but there was another appointment made or whatever, and Father Body offered Melvin a job, and Melvin accepted it. Our oldest son was due on December the 23rd, and Father Body made an appointment for Melvin to come to Jackson County and see the Christian Appalachian Project and that type of thing. But Lewis came on the date he was due, so that had to be put off for about a week or whatever. But anyway, so then I guess Lewis was about 2.5 weeks old when we came here. Melvin accepted the job, and Melvin came and he found a trailer, an 8x28 trailer. So we moved here. It had running water. There was no water system in Jackson County at all at that time. I was in 1965. The people that we rented from had a very good well, and they had several other rent trailers beside their own home, and the well supported the water system that they had and that type of things. So we moved here. Melvin became acquainted with the Christian Appalachian Project, and of course they had been here a while, but Melvin may have one job one day and another job another, but the Christian Appalachian Project developed, He did different things. He would provide transportation to different people for their jobs, what they were doing, working for the Christian Appalachian Project. And Father Biting would buy property and buy houses, and the houses most of the time would need repairs and fixed up. He would have volunteer groups to come in and fix up the houses and that type of thing for these families to live in. And so they would have a decent place to live. And I think, if my memory serves me correctly, it was about, I think their pay was $30 a week and, and a house to live in. So Melvin may transport the people to the job site. He may supervise whatever they did that day and that type of thing. Melvin had a degree in agriculture, and so he was over the tobacco. I think Cap had like 5 acres of tobacco that he raised. And the best I remember, he made money even on the first crop he raised. But he had helped in tobacco when he was growing up because he grew up on a farm. Yeah. So then somebody donated a bulldozer to the Christian Appalachian Project. And of course, Father Biting had bought different areas of land and that type of thing. And timber was a big commodity here, and still is to some degree, not the degree it was over 30 years ago. But anyway, so he and George Purcell, who'd already been here about a year anyway, they learned to log and that type of thing. And somebody had donated some dairy cows. And so the Christian Appalachian Project started a dairy farm. And George was over the dairy farm, and Melvin was over the logging. They started out logging, and Melvin was over that. And Father Biting bought him a truck to haul the logs to market on. Somewhere down the road, after a couple of years, somebody came on to sell Father Biting a sawmill. And so then Father Biting bought the sawmill, and Melvin learned to use the sawmill. And so he started to saw. And orders came in. We were here altogether about 9 years, and we had 9 children. And so Melvin asked if he could buy the sawmill and the operation. And of course, we had no money. And Father Biting financed him and sold him the sawmill and the operation and so forth, and let us. We lived in a cap house at Greyhawk. He let us keep on living there. That's how we got here. And he worked for the Christian Appalachian Project for 9 years, and he went out on his own. And by the grace of God, he made it. And he bought it in the wintertime. So that spring, a big tornado came through down around Lexington and below Lexington, and tobacco was still a big commodity then. Destroyed a lot of tobacco barns. So Melvin got orders by the gobs. And so that is really how he got his start. And he worked day and night, and he filled the orders, and that's really how he got his start. But he stayed in Jackson County. He employed people here, people who really needed jobs, really poor people, and worked with them. And patience was not one of Melvin's big commodities, but he was so good with these people and so patient with them. And they really liked him a lot. But anyway, so that's how we got here. And
that is an amazing story. So you all have been with Camp really since the very beginning. So what can you share with us about your memories of Camp AJ?
We came here in January, and Father Biting had bought this land, and he decided this was a good place for a camp. And so Melvin helped clear off this land around here with a group of volunteers. And I think some of the volunteers, they were, just college kids or whatever. Well, they had a fire going to burn the trash and the sticks and so forth. And he got out, and when he came home, he was so tired. He said, he got out, but that's okay. They got it out. But anyway, the land was cleared, and Father Biting had the lake dug. I think in the beginning, I'm sure the lake was bigger than it is now. And then we had a lot of rain. And they were afraid that the dam was going to break. And so they cut the lake down because they didn't want, there were a lot of houses down through this valley down here, and they were afraid that the lake would break and it would flood those houses and so forth. They made it lower.
So can you tell us more about your husband and what he did to help with Camp AJ?
He started the sawmill later, but no, he helped clear the land, because back in the beginning, you pretty much did what was to be done that day, And but then after he got started with the logging and that type of thing, and then he didn't work here, unless it was something that was really needed or whatever. He worked in his area because they, like George Purcell had the dairy farm, and Melvin had the logging operation, and it developed into a sawmill operation and that type of thing.
Miss Joyce, you said you had 9 children. Can you tell us what that was like raising your family here in Jackson County?
It was just being a mother of 9 children. You weren't bored, I can tell you that. I can tell you that you were not bored. But and I had 9 children in about 10 years, and there was lots of volunteers who came in. So in the summertime, when there were volunteers, people from St. Paul's would send me some volunteers to help me in the summertime, and that was a big help. Of course, we went to St. Paul's Church, and there were volunteers there and that type of thing. And as I said, I wasn't ever bored. Yeah. I have 3 girls and 6 boys. 27 original grandchildren, and a couple more have come in. Yeah. And let's see, I have 3 great-grandchildren at this time.
Miss Joyce, can you tell us what it means to you to see your family helping you serve at the pantry?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
And where are your children now? What are they up to?
I love to see my children get their education and be able, some of them, to stay in Jackson County. Now, not all of them have been able to do that, but they all grew up here. They all love Jackson County. My oldest daughter went to Berea College also. She married somebody from Jackson County. They went to Lexington, and then they moved to California because he got a job with some big computer place or something out there. And so they moved out there, and they just moved back. Then, let's see, Lewis, my oldest son, never left. And he worked for the sawmill for years. He now runs Louis' Tobacco Store up at Greyhawk, and he also owns property, and he never left Jackson County. And then Mary, my oldest daughter, is the one who went to California and just came back. And then Gloria is the next one down, and she went to nursing school. And she went on to be a nurse practitioner, and she works for Dr. Hayes in Jackson County. And she's worked for Dr. Hayes for over 20 years. And I'm just tickled to death that she's been able to be here and make the medical situation in Jackson County better. And let's see, Louis, Mary, Glory, John's the next one. He went to Eastern. He got a degree in construction, and he did other things until he finally worked his way into construction. And now he and another man have a construction company, and they work all over. He lives in Richmond. They have 4 children. He adopted all 4 of them. And then Eddie, that's Bub's dad, Bub and Sarah's dad. They live just right down the road. Then there's Jenny, and Jenny grew up here, and she taught at McKee School up until about 1.5 years ago, and then she moved to Berea. We hated to see her go, but she taught right here in Jackson County, and helped educate where she grew up. And then Paul, he got a degree in insurance. It's his field. So he worked for Farm Bureau for a while, and then he moved on up the ladder, and he now lives in Georgia. He's like an executive at insurance company. Then there's Peter. He's electrical. He works for some of these companies where they have catastrophes and they call in extra people. He lives in Jackson County, and he has a little village right down below McKee. He has like the tiny houses and rents them out and that type of thing. And then there's Stephen, and Stephen also is in insurance. He lives in Richmond also, and he has 4 children. That's a history of my family.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know that 1 in 5 children in Appalachia go to bed hungry? Many children look forward to their summer vacation from school, but there are girls and boys whose families depend on free school meals to stretch their paychecks. With your support, children and families suffering from hunger won't need to worry about where their meals come from. Your support will ensure lunches are delivered to hungry children throughout the region. Visit christianapp.org to give today.
What was it like for you growing up in Bardstown, Kentucky?
Let's see, my dad had his own business. I was the oldest. I lived there when I was much younger, and then we moved to a neighboring county, Marion County. I lived there for, 3 or 4 years, and then we moved back to Bardstown. When we came back, I went to Catholic school there. We are Catholic. We went to Catholic school. That was very good. And I graduated from Bethlehem Academy then. It's Bethlehem High School now. But anyway, so then after that, I went to business school in Louisville. I got a job in Louisville. I worked there for about 2.5 years, and then Melvin and I married. He's from Bardstown also. We married, and then we moved to Lexington. I was the oldest of 6, and I helped with the house and helped with the children, and then I left home and made my own life.
Oh, we've mentioned your husband quite a lot. Can you tell us how you met your husband and how did he propose?
I started St. Joseph's Catholic School in Bardstown when I was in the 7th grade. That's when we moved back. And Melvin went to school there. And then the Jesuits had a boarding school in Bardstown. And they also took in day hops. So Melvin went to school there. But anyway, so I got to be a senior in high school, and Melvin Marks that I went to school with in the 7th and 8th grade started to call me. Why are you calling me? It just was over the phone for a while and that type of thing. And then he went to college at U of K. He didn't go right out of high school. It might have been a year or so after that before he went to college. We got married a year before he graduated. And then I got a job in Louisville after, because I went to school in Louisville. So I got a secretarial job in Louisville. And so we got married then about a year before he finished school. And then we came here then. So it was kind of like, well, we're going to get married. And so it happened and it worked.
Being up here now at Camp AJ is such a peaceful place. Miss Joyce, can you share with us what memories you have of your own kids and their interactions at AJ?
Oh, this is a wonderful place. It was just to be able to see a place like this, and and all these children from Eastern Kentucky could come and be here and experience what they experienced here. It was just, it was great. And some of my children worked here in the summertime. And that was very eye-opening for them. I know one of my kids said, I always thought we were poor. But she said, I didn't know what poor was until we came here. And it was very eye-opening for them also. And it was a very good experience for them, because they were in school, and it gave them a chance to make a little money. They worked hard. And, it just put a good work ethic in them, let them see that they were fortunate.
Our guest today has been Joyce Marks, Director of the Jackson County Food Bank. We hope you've enjoyed the show and will check out next week's episode. Tell your friends to check us out too. You can follow the work of Christian Appalachian Project on all social media channels. We are so excited that this is our 60th-year anniversary, and you can now visit our historical website at wearecap.org and find the podcast on that site at wearecap.org/podcast, or anywhere you get your favorite podcast. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll see you next week.